morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I am Elizabeth Case. I own Yellow Dog Consulting. I will be your fearless leader this morning, guiding us through the virtual business walk survey results today. So we are going to kind of run through all the results first, and then we will open it up for Q&A and some conversation about what we've seen here. So I think, Deanna, you're controlling the slides this morning. All right. Thank you to our sponsors. Big thanks to Summit Bank this morning and, whoa, awkward, Yellow Dog Consulting. So we are in the midst of the welcome and introductions, and then we'll do some quick thanks to our amazing sponsors, two of the best sponsors. I mean, we've really seen anywhere, and then we'll do some rundown of the data and have some Q&A and go from there. Sound good? Issues, drama? Okay, great. So thank you to our supporting sponsor, Summit Bank, this morning. I believe we have Chris Barron here from Summit. Do you want to take it over here for a moment?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I think I've had the pleasure of getting to know some of you through Washington County Chamber events or meetings or anything like this one today. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to a couple of my colleagues who will briefly kind of share why we're excited to be bankers at Summit Bank. But before I do, I wanted to introduce my colleagues a little bit about Summit. So Summit Bank was founded in 2004 by local business owners for local businesses. We're headquartered in Eugene. We're proudly referred to as Oregon's business bank with offices in Eugene, Bend, and Portland. Being founded by business owners, we pride ourselves first and foremost in running a sound business. We're the third largest community bank headquartered in Oregon, consistently perform higher than peers in operational efficiency matrices, and rank in Oregon's 100 best companies to work for in 2022. We're strictly a commercial bank, no investment services or mortgage lending. We only do business banking. What this all means for our clients is we pour all of our resources into providing the best banking solutions and services for you and your business, are able to offer premium deposit and treasury management services without fees for things like online banking access, remote deposit capture, check positive pay, or even paper statements, and empower our colleagues to make lending decisions at the market level to better serve the businesses that make up our local communities. I've asked my colleagues to quickly share 3 items: who they are, what they do, and who they serve, and a proud moment that they've had as a Summit banker. And so I'll start. I'm Chris Barron. I serve the clients of our office by recommending, implementing, and servicing deposit and treasury solutions that bring the power of our bank to your business's doorstep, allowing you to make deposits from your desktop or send vendor payments from your phone. A recent moment at Summit I'm proud of is I delivered a deposit analysis pro forma to a prospect that converted their annual cost of roughly $20,000 in treasury services at their current bank to an annual $6,000 positive earnings credit with the same services and structure that they currently had in place. So very proud of that. And I'd just go ahead and turn over to Phil, and he's got about 30 seconds to introduce himself. Phil.
All right, I'm on the clock. Well, thank you everybody for having me. My name is Phil Jake. I'm a commercial banking officer here in Portland, Oregon. I'm a second generation banker, and I hail from the east side of Portland in the Gresham area. And I'm an Oregon State grad, and I see a logo here on the Zoom call, so go Beavs. My counterpart, Brian Thomas, who's our team lead here in my office, is a U of O grad, so you can tell we have a lot of fun. So we're generalists. We serve a lot of different types of industries: manufacturing, distribution, professional service firms, construction. I cut my teeth out of college doing a lot of healthcare and medical practice financing throughout the Northwest and across the country. We do a lot for nonprofits in our local communities, and we do retail, and we even do some food and beverage groups. And so, you know, we really focus on supporting small businesses within our communities. Right out of college, Brian and I went right into community banking. We found that's where the need is. A lot of the banking consolidation that you're seeing here in the Oregon and Washington markets really provide really cause a lot of underserved markets where we're at. So we really try to put an emphasis on supporting really businesses with revenues 70 million and below, and we can go up to loan sizes of about 10 to 15 million. So we're really just trying to support our local communities in any way we can. And Chris is a great addition to our team here. Thank you guys for having us.
Perfect. And quickly, Rochelle's our branch operations supervisor, so I'll just have her tell a little bit about what she does, and then we'll pass it back off.
Hello, lovely to meet you all. My name is Rochelle, like he said. I am the branch operations supervisor here at the Portland branch. And as the title states, I oversee the branch portion, which means I run the day-to-day transactions and customer service. I open accounts and do account maintenance. I help with new client onboarding, and I often work with Chris doing them. So if you call our office, there's a good chance that I'll be the first person you talk to. I came to Summit right as they moved to their permanent office space in Portland, so I was very lucky and got to miss that move. I had great timing. Yeah, so I have been very excited. I've gotten to see all of our lovely growth and happy to serve our community.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. As you can see, we're all excited to be here at Summit. And thank you again for the Chamber for having us be here today and for supporting the local communities and the businesses that make up Washington County. I'm very proud to be part of this organization as well and to be here with you all today. So thank you again.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris and the team. We're happy to have you here. And thank you so much for supporting the business walk this year. I am Elizabeth Case and I own Yellow Dog Consulting. I do email marketing for small business owners. I am a certified MailChimp partner. So the next time you want to throw your computer out the window with your newsletter and your MailChimp, don't call me. I can make it better for you. I promise. So anyway, that is a little bit about me. I'm always happy to chat about that. But today, let's get to the fun stuff. So we had over 100 people participate in our survey, and I know a few of you are on this call today. So thank you for participating so that we can have some great numbers to share what's going on in Washington County. 54% of our respondents are women-owned businesses. 18% of respondents identify as culturally specific ownership. 10% were veteran-owned. And you can see from the size of respondent companies, so a lot of small businesses, right? 1 to 5 employees made up over half of this, which you will see reflected in some of the survey results we see today. So that's just a little bit about those demographics there. We also asked what kind of businesses people represent, because we want to know so that you, as we're looking through these numbers, you can kind of help understand that. So about 30% are service industry. There's some retail and restaurant and food, childcare and distance learning, manufacturing, hospitality, and then a lot of professional services as well. And then some construction, just to well round out really what is Washington County here. So one of the first questions we asked after all that fun data we collected was, how do you expect your employment levels to change over the next 12 months? And we were really excited about this, right? That it will either maintain or increase, that not a lot of people are expecting to get smaller in the next year, which is fantastic news. How has the cost of compensation, including benefits, of your employees changed since January of 2022? And we're seeing that it's going to maintain or increase, right? And it has been over the last few months. So that's good to see. It's what's going on in the market. And so this all seems to make sense and flow with what we're already seeing. It was about 50-50 on if you have any positions that have been open for at least 3 months that you can't fill. There were a chunk of folks who, like myself, when I filled it out, it is just me, and I am not looking to hire any more dogs. In fact, I have a chocolate lab that you are all welcome to take off my hands, depending on the day. So, but it's about 50-50 of being able to fill those positions right now. We had some good feedback in our comments too. So you'll see a couple of quotes interspersed here, but what do you believe is causing the workforce shortage? And seeing the top response, over 50% of folks said they were not able to offer a competitive wage. And lack of childcare, the adequate transportation, a seasonal workforce, the lack of affordable housing. We continue to see that housing is an issue. And the flexibility of schedule and location, people really wanting that these days. But what we thought was kind of an interesting answer here was the real answer is the lack of trained and available workers. I think the next slide, we have another comment based on this question too. But that it's a complex mix of things, including unnecessarily extended unemployment benefits, an overheated economy driven by artificially low interest rates over a long period, and workforce reevaluating options and values. All right, But what we're also seeing is in the next 12 months, do you expect your business's revenue to increase? And over 60% of our respondents are saying, yep, and we're going to increase. And I think that's fantastic news. We do see a little over 20 saying they're going to maintain and stay the same, but about 15%, I think, said decrease. So feeling really confident about that growth in the next year. Overall, how would you describe your current business conditions? And average. So there's that. Deanna and I were just talking about this. And is it, the uncertainty, right? It's an election year. We've got midterms coming up. We've got inflation. We still are in a pandemic, or now an endemic. Is that what we call it now? And so is it average? Is it burnout? Is it, that? But happy to see that a third of folks were saying that conditions were good. The new normal. So as we ask folks, have things gone back to the way they were? Do you have a new normal? It definitely is a new normal out there. And if we think back to the kinds of industries that we had, right? Services industries where you have to. And some were able to not have any change to business operations, which is, okay. So anyway, looking at those numbers, some interesting information there. Getting to some more comments, and you really get to see kind of the variety of industries that we had here. So less traveling for face-to-face meetings, using that hybrid work model, from the hospitality industry, the travelers just starting to book at increased levels, and hotels hoping to return to pre-pandemic eventually. Fewer hours, smaller staff, doing business with fewer employees. People's behavior changing, attitudes of any kind of illness changing, healthcare facilities still having to enforce the mask mandates for healthcare, even when the rest of the world is returned to normal. So all sorts of fun challenges here. Which of these do you think will increase the most for your company over the next 6 months? The cost of labor. Gee, there's a surprise. Cost of raw materials, cost of capital, cost of goods sold, 50%, transportation and or shipping, and lease or rent rates increasing. And what we are hearing and what we're seeing around the country and here in Washington County is that this quote here of, we've noticed a decrease in sales due to a threat of a recession. What's coming there? So what does your business need, right? We always want to know, how can we help? What is it that your business is, is hurting with? And so workforce support, talent recruitment and training was number one. And I want to have Deanna jump in here and talk about the job fair that the chamber had just last week, 2 weeks ago. Time flies when there's an election yesterday.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Our hiring expo, specifically called Hiring Expo, so that we were putting it out there that these were businesses that were looking to hire people. We had 75 businesses. We had over 425 job seekers come through during the time of the show. So really, I think great response to that. We had students in the morning, so high school students that were looking for positions, graduating seniors, and then in the afternoon we had the adult job seekers. So a really great response, so much so that we're planning to do another one in the fall, and those 75 businesses have already said count me in. So if you're interested, let me know and we'll make sure that we get you on the list. But I do think that some of the signs that were in front of the vendors that were participating were talking about, hiring bonuses of up to $7,500. So when you're talking about the cost of labor, that includes those kinds of things that are an attractor to a potential job seeker, and businesses are doing whatever they need to do to be able to fill those positions, because their ability to grow is, it directly correlates to their ability to hire people. And so we're going to have sort of this, constricted economy until we can get people to work, and businesses can stay open the whole day. They have shifts that are filled. I got a call just yesterday from a business that had 45 job seekers scheduled to interview, and only 20 showed up. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm sure all of you, or many of you, are experiencing, a variety of those issues related to workforce. Not surprised at all to see this sort of at the top of the list of concerns, and where, businesses are just looking for support and, and assistance.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, we see throughout a lot of this that workforce recruitment. So how would you describe the current availability of cash on hand for your business, including any financial assistance or loans? And we're seeing that a lot of folks are feeling like they have some short-term savings and some short-term cash on hand here. So 1 to 2, 3 or more months of business operations. And so that's, I can't remember what the numbers were on this last time, and I should have looked that up for today, but that feels.
Elizabeth, it would actually be really interesting to go back to, and have asked this question back in 2019. Because I'm going to guess that the pandemic, has had an impact on a lot of things. And I think it's had an impact on, how small businesses look at their business and the kinds of things that they need to do to ensure that they, in the event of a pandemic now, are words that you wouldn't have heard in 2019.
Right, exactly. So interesting to see that there. Comparing now to 6 months ago, so November, how has demand for your goods or services changed? Large increase in demand, a moderate increase in demand, nice and moderate. All right, little to no change, but not as much with the decrease in demand. So that's nice to see. So about 15 to 20% said a decrease, but for the most part, we're seeing a bit. Compared to about 6 months ago, how have the prices you pay for goods and services changed? Large increase and a moderate increase. Not really a surprise with everything else we are seeing in the country right now, and at the gas pump especially. Shameless plug. The education opportunities provided by Washington County Chamber have been incredible the last 2 years. I may not attend them all, but I am always encouraging others to attend them. And I think they have changed the way businesses look. And a special shout outs to the SBEC, which I will take because I am a proud member of the Small Business Entrepreneurs Council. So yes, along with a few others on this call today. So I'm going to pass this part over to Deanna. She did a little more research from the Main Street America that we wanted to share with you today.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And, feel free if anybody has a question or comment, jump in at any point. I just thought it would be interesting. We've done sort of the real close laser look at our small businesses in Washington County, what is happening on a national front. So went and looked at other surveys that had been conducted recently. The Main Street America, which is part of the Main Street Association, where a lot of downtown associations across the country participate. So they're really hand on the pulse of small businesses, retailers sitting on Main Street. And just some notes that they had on their surveys. Many small business owner respondents were testing out or considering new technologies and business model shifts that would reduce the time customers spent inside the business establishment. Once again, thinking about going back to 2019, how many small businesses, especially retailers, would be trying to figure out ways to keep their customers in their business less. Right? It was all about, that purchase that happened that wasn't, intentional, but they saw it and they bought it. And now, with the pandemic, folks are thinking about ways that they can streamline the customer experience, but at the same time, get them out of the door and have, circulating customers coming through, which is just completely sort of different. And it really does talk about sort of our new normal that we're all going to be experiencing. 46% of their respondents had incorporated or were considering touchless payment app options, and 37% implemented or were considering tracking orders online for in-store pickup. So, all of these techniques are not going away. So that it is a new normal. These are going to be options that businesses are going to be implementing. More than half of the small businesses owners said they were concerned about challenges with inflation, 58%, and supply chain issues, 57%. This is on Main Street. Those kinds of things that we're hearing at a national level, our Main Street operators are feeling. 50% of them are feeling, this inflation. How high is it going to go? How much is it going to impact me? They talked about $6 a gallon gas in many places. 40% of the small business owner respondents were concerned about challenges hiring and filling open positions with qualified applicants, and 33% were concerned about challenges keeping their businesses fully staffed. Once again, paralleling the feeling that was reflected in our survey regarding workforce, and workforce being top of mind for everyone. And again, when you're in a retail or restaurant environment, if you don't have a full shift, you can't have as many tables turned over. It really does impact the ability for that business to be back to 100%. And then again, continuing on with the national front, there is no clear focus on ensuring continued economic vitality and resilience, reflected in the responses of 61% of small business owners who said they would like to see more incentives and financial support for small businesses. This survey was taken once again in March of 2022. So this wasn't 2021. When businesses were receiving funding or there was ARPA funds. Those dollars are basically, for the most part, gone. The small businesses are still trying to figure out what are their financial sort of opportunities, where can they shore up and rebuild that resiliency. More than half of the respondents expressed a high or very high level of interest in strengthening their businesses marketing online over social media. 38% of respondents expressed a high or very high level of interest in improving their partnerships with other local businesses or business groups, like maybe the Washington County Chamber. And 35% expressed a high to very high level of interest in leveraging data to improve marketing and inventory. So this is all, again, things that maybe retailers and our small businesses kind of thought that's for someone else 2 or 3 years ago. And now it's like, this is the kind of thing I need to start implementing. And to me, that also could be where the assistance could be helpful in terms of, providing technology options to businesses that now that is becoming sort of a customer expectation. And then I got this data from SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. So they did a survey back again in March of 2022. 97% of all small business owners are worried about inflation. 45% say rising cost is the most significant threat in their businesses face. So again, same sort of drumbeat of this is really, inflation is something that they don't have any control over. But they definitely have an impact to it. 63% plan to raise prices in the next 3 months to combat this. So here it is that, we all know when costs increase for a business, ultimately customers are going to pay for it. 44% of small business plan to hire over the next 3 months if they could. To attract and retain employees, business owners plan to increase pay to attract new talent, 44%, and pay their current staff more, 46%. Offer larger bonuses to current employees. Again, just as a reminder, at our hiring expo, we had one business that was offering a $7,500 hiring bonus. I got to tell you, if I could drive a bus, sorry folks, I'd be gone. But I struggle parallel parking with my car, so I don't think bus driver is really going to be the option for me. 56% of the businesses surveyed still face cash flow pressure. Again, back to the comment about more assistance, financial assistance and support. 56% of businesses surveyed still face cash flow pressures, but they're determined not to let debt become an unhealthy dependency. Want to thank our sponsors again. Elizabeth, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Deanna. So we want to open this up to a conversation. I know we kind of just raced through those numbers for you, but would love to kind of hear what you're hearing, what feedback you have. Was there anything surprising in these numbers? Was there anything that, validating in the numbers? Brad Smith, God love you for always saving me.
I thought the first two slides, I think it was the first two slides were interesting. One of them was about 50% or something like that were not seeing increased wages with their employees. And then the next slide went on to say that businesses are having problems filling positions because they can't offer competitive wages.
Right.
So I think you're seeing, or are going to see more of it. We hired a position in our office, and it wasn't an unemployed person. It was someone moving from another employment position. We didn't ask outright if it was wage related, but we're pretty sure that's why it was. So those two things are going to go hand in hand. I think there's going to be a lot more, or maybe there is currently job stealing or employee stealing, basically, for lack of a better term.
Based on every single nodding head. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are seeing a lot of that. And also, that kind of goes to that comment in the national data of hiring younger workers. Like I was talking to a junior at Glencoe last night and she was saying, I said, get a summer job. And she's doing a little bit of traveling, but it was like, honestly, it's your market. If you want to get a job for the summer when you're back from vacation, like I bet you can find one pretty easily. So
I would also say that, and this does not bode well for, our community colleges and places like that, but a lot of businesses looking at their job descriptions where they might have had, educational requirements beyond a high school diploma, really rethinking that. A lot of, incentive to come, we're going to hire you and then we're going to help pay your tuition for the certifications that you need. A lot of that happening as well, which gets pretty expensive for a business.
Yeah, no kidding. Pam Power, how's it going?
Hi. One thing I will know, I was talking to some other friends and business owners actually in terms of, and this isn't just, unfortunately, I think for high school, because of the hiring situation people are in, is that I've actually heard from quite a few businesses, they are not looking to hire high school students right now because of the wages that they have to pay, period. And the schedules of high school students and their requirements are very limited. So if you have to pay somebody 17 to 20 an hour, you're going to want them for more than 3 or 4 hours a day, which is unfortunate because those are the people right now really that want those jobs. But
yeah, it is a challenge. It is, absolutely.
I would say that, like I said, at our hiring expo, we had 215 high school students that came through the hiring expo. And what businesses, there were businesses that were unable to hire anybody under 18, but having conversations with those students, that is a way for them to build their pipeline.
Totally. Pam, did you have more to say? Okay. Kevin.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. We just got an article here last month from Inc. magazine. They were looking at the workforce and they said that this generation, the youngest generation that's out there, actually isn't concerned about wages. They're more concerned about feeling part of the organization. And so it's kind of a mix. And, it depends on where you're at, but it's like, if you can make me feel like I'm wanted and I'm part of the family, I'll take less pay, just as long as I have a position that I know I can grow and build. So
interesting. Yeah. Thumbs up from Chris on that one. What else? What else are we seeing? What else are you hearing anecdotally out there? What else surprised you?
Cindy?
Dan. Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Cindy had her hand up too as well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to apologize. I have no voice, but so I work for Code Ninjas and we teach kids how to code. And I just hired assistant directors, and the applicants I got, two of them, one of them was a PhD student, one had his master's in art, and the other one had a degree in mechanical engineering. And I think it's really fascinating that that's the kind of applicants that I got. And all three of them had these side passion projects that they were working on and needed something else, and wanted to make sure that the job that they took was something they were passionate about and was happy, was going to make them fulfilled. And, they weren't looking, I mean, they took $16 an hour to start. Obviously with the goals to raise our income, but their salaries, but I keep hearing about this shortage, and the fact that I got these three applicants, like I ended up hiring two of them because they were so great, and they've like turned our business, like in the last 3 weeks, it's been amazing because they're so skilled. And really, they just wanted to feel like they were part of something. And, we're a struggling business, and they get to take part in making us a successful business. And they wanted to be part of that. And anyway, I just wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Dan.
Yeah, thanks. So, something that's obviously come out of this pandemic is many people and businesses allowed their employees to work from home via Zoom and other aspects. And so I was just recently talking to a colleague who's in the high-tech industry, and he manages a team of 20 individuals. And as they were bringing people back in person, he lost 8 of those individuals to other jobs because they were able to find a job somewhere else that allowed them to stay at home and work from home. I think it's interesting, and it was mostly the younger generation. It wasn't the older generation. The younger generation seems to be more, I don't know if they're more introverted or just more comfortable. They just wanting to stay home and work in their PJs and not get into the office. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where that takes some of the businesses. It's obviously not that much into the retail side of it, but in my business where I can have people work from home, obviously there's some cost benefits. You don't have to have a lot of business space. You can allow them to work at home, which can free up some money in that regard. So there's some, good and bad to that, I think. But it's just interesting to see the shift. And, if you want to keep your good employees, I think we as business owners got to think about that. All right, are we going to allow our employees to work from home, or do we going to force them to come back? So just kind of an interesting observation.
Yeah, no, and you're right. Like I'm realizing as you were saying that, the friends of mine that have gotten new jobs over the last year, it's fully remote. I can work from anywhere. It's a flexible schedule, or, it's, there's probably some pay and some other benefits to it too. But, that's been a big thing of like, it stays fully remote, or, parents with kids who need that flexibility to work from home. So thanks for sharing that. Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of some of the comments that have been made. I feel like, well, I am a millennial, so I kind of fall into that workforce that everyone's talking about these days. I think there's a lot of, statistics out there about pay, but I can speak from personal experience that culture and the workforce, it makes a big difference. Like where you're going to as an employer, the soft benefits, like being able to work from home. I mean, I am one of those people that's recently changed jobs. I was at another financial institution, and I stepped away from a VP title to now being an associate because I saw the benefits of a good culture, the ability to work from home as needed. And so I think that while pay is important, it's how do you help these small business owners kind of tell that story about their culture and the soft benefits and really who they are. One of my favorite, business leaders that I listen to quite often is Simon Sinek, and he always talks about that start with why. And that's really what attracted me to my current employer is they started with the why when I met with them and told me about why they did what they did. And that was something that I wanted to be part of. And so I think as you're out there working with small businesses, it's helping them share that story. And I think they're going to start attracting the talent, especially the younger millennials, Gen Z that everyone's looking for, because they're out there. Just gotta share that story. And I think it goes more than money.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it definitely reinforces what Cindy was saying a few minutes ago. Brad Smith once again.
You had brought up one of the stats about cash on hand. I can't
Yeah.
remember what the amount was, but I'm almost positive from the previous surveys that we asked that there's more cash on hand currently, higher amounts in longer terms, which is
The bankers are bobbleheads here with that one.
Yeah.
So,
in the real estate world, cash is king. I mean, has always been a statement. And luckily, we followed that through the pandemic. But it is interesting to see businesses that are, even with massively increased costs and labor costs and material costs, that businesses are kind of seeing, hey, we got to put some of this away for a rainy day /
right.
new variant. So.
Yeah, I think it was 1 to 2 months or more than 3 months. A few businesses said they just had like a week to 2 weeks on hand. But
yeah, it wasn't previously. It was like a month was.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like early in the pandemic we were seeing a lot of the wait, what? As we were all reacting to what was going on. So, Darcy.
Hi, I actually did notice a kind of the opposite happening where people moved away and they were like, oh gosh, I can live in the Bahamas and be online. And then their company went, yeah, you're going to need to be in the state. So they're like, oh man, I got to come back and figure out how to do that. So we're actually seeing some of those people like re-engaging back into the state that left, coming back in because their employer was like, yeah, you got to, vacation time's over, you got to come back in, we need you here. So I'm kind of seeing that trend kind of coming where you have to be at least in the state that you're working for.
Yeah, my husband's at Nike, and I remember him saying that when Nike was going to return to the office, they had to give like 6 weeks notice because there were people that were going to need to finally move, like had taken the job but were able to stay remote or with their family or with friends or whatever it was, and having to give them time to move out to Portland. So
get off the beach. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Get off that beach. No kidding.
Elizabeth, I would also add, I was reading an article from Axiom, and they were saying that they're doing their first all-staff retreat. And I think I won't get the percentage right, but it was a high percentage, like 60% of their employees had never met each other in person. And because they, 2.5-3 years, they've been remote. And so they just knew them, and a good percentage of them had never actually stepped, in presence of any of the Axiom real estate, right? Had never been on one of their properties. And so they were all coming back together. And they were saying that, that there is a productivity lag a bit that is starting to trend a little bit downward in terms of all remote. And that there are studies out that are showing that that innovation and creativity among teams does, it outpaces that, and remote in-person outpaces remote in terms of employee engagement and innovation. So I think this is going to be an interesting trend to watch as to, how that shows up within businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Kevin.
So I want to kind of capture on what Chris was saying, because, that generation, the millennials, go millennials, and Zs, they are the creative mindset, and they want a culture of why are we doing this and how can I help improve it better? Mm-hmm. So that is what drives them. And, our studies have shown that, and, there's a lot of other studies out there that's what drives them. It's not pay. It's about feeling like they're part of a culture that's going the right way. And a great book that I really enjoy is Jim Collins' Good to Great. Why do there are great companies? And that's because they focus on the culture of the organization. So, that's one of the things. If you want some people that are innovative and creative, go get your millennials and Zs, because that's what they are.
Thanks. Philip.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kevin, and you guys are all on the point with your respective industries and what you're seeing. I work across all these industries, so I hear the same stories. And even in the medical side, where, large hospitals, you don't have the luxury of creating a great environment, right? Because our medical staff are so bogged down with just the pandemic and endemic, as you spoke of earlier. My wife's a nurse at a large medical institution here in Portland. And, those large medical institutions are really trying to stay profitable by any means possible, given the current environment. And so, the employment and staffing is such a struggle. They're paying these travel nurses 3 times what they're paying their existing staff. And it's really difficult to maintain that profit and loss and balance sheet. And then in other industries, like in the CPA world, you're seeing, applicants far and few between that are actually qualified for the job and command a large wage. And so when you have 2 applicants, a lot of times, like I think someone on this call just mentioned, you hire both. Right. Because it's kind of an asset grab, right? You don't know who else you can have out there. So you kind of just grab them all and see who can perform the job, and it weeds itself out in the end. So it's just a really interesting time to be observing this employment market.
I hadn't thought about it as that asset grab, but yeah, that's fascinating to be witnessing. So thank you. Final comments, final thoughts, anything we haven't talked about yet? Deanna, anything you've noticed you want to chime in with here?
Steve has his hand up.
Oh, no.
He was raising it like that.
I am.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. You know
No,
what? I
no
had
problem.
the participant thing there. It was not intentional.
Hi, Elizabeth. Philip, I just appreciate those comments about healthcare. I work at Hillsborough Medical Center, and most hospitals right now are running at about 30% turnover. That is unheard of. That is twice what we've had ever before. And yes, some people didn't want to get vaccinated, and some people left to work as those travel nurses, making 3 times, what they would otherwise. But it is really a hard situation these days, because it is not the family-friendly environment of the past. You tell limit visitors. It's just a really challenging environment. So I think anything we could do for healthcare and workforce development is going to be critical. And just an example today, Portland Community College hasn't trained phlebotomists for 2 years. We don't have enough phlebotomists just to draw blood to get your lab test done. That's what's happening. I heard one organization in the Portland area offering $80 an hour to a phlebotomist just so they had somebody to draw blood. That's what's going on. And the pandemic shifted everything from nurses, some medical schools even, no graduates for a couple of years in many cases. So that's how serious it is right now. We have a lot of catch up to do, and all of those procedures we're trying to catch up on now too that we had to delay. It's a really critical time.
That's fascinating.
Well, sure. I can't parallel park, and I don't like the sight of blood.
I was just gonna say, I think the only thing Deanna hates more than parallel parking is needles. So you're stuck. You're just gonna continue to run the chamber.
Question for you. Do you think it'll get to the point where, like at OHSU, we'll hire and send to training, as opposed to, wait for the trained person to come and be the worker?
Yeah, great question, Brad. I believe that, we're able to train phlebotomists. They don't have to go through a program. We have them go through a program because there's a lot of proficiency and a lot of, it's very efficient to get it done that way. So we could do that, but there's also a shortage of medical assistants in the clinics. At one point, we had close to 20 openings for medical assistants. That's who keeps the clinics running. They're doing the intake on the patients when they come in. If you don't have those, and these are very entry-level positions that people should want to, start their careers in. So I'm personally very excited about the work that's going to be done here with the school district and the chamber and all the rest of us trying to figure out how can we create these avenues to get our young people and anybody else who's interested into these tracks. And I know it's not just healthcare, but it's certainly loud and clear in healthcare right now.
Well, I wonder if we're going to see a kind of a fundamental shift. There's always been the apprenticeship program on the blue collar side.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's going to make its way into the quote unquote professional white collar side for some of those entry level positions, at least, of just hiring the person and then training on site. You know, it would make me a little nervous if I was going to a checkup and the person standing there just got hired the day before and doesn't even know how to operate a blood pressure cuff. But
Yeah.
you know, I think there's going to have to be some fundamental changes on how we train and hire our workforce, or we're just going to be in the same position, especially as the baby boomers age out of the job market, and you know, there's not the numbers coming back in from the young side. So we do have to change the way. I think we are going to have to change the way we train the workforce of America.
Yeah, great point. Just an example, I donate blood every 60 days. And I think it's been at least a year that I've had a seasoned phlebotomist draw my blood. There's always 2 or 3 people in the room training. They're going through the same thing the rest of us are. A couple times ago, it was a retired truck driver who decided he wanted to do something to interact with people. He went through the training program at Red Cross and was an extremely good phlebotomist. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see us asking people to come out of retirement, you know, trying to, we're all competing for talent.
Mm-hmm. Wow. 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 Phil, I saw you had your hand raised, but you dropped it down. Did you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Brad's bringing up a good point of, you know, how do we train that workforce? You know, you already have a lot of nurses stepping out of their job responsibility to kind of cross train, and that's across industries, right? People are kind of rolling up their sleeves to try to train other people. You know, especially in banking, a lot of larger institutions have done away with the formal credit training for a lot of entry-level staff because it's just too costly. So you can imagine with, you know, large medical institutions who are already struggling to maintain their profitability, you know, having that kind of on-site training or, you know, job training infrastructure is really tricky to implement. But I think, you know, again, even from the ground floor, you know, just trying to push more people into that avenue, because it can be a really rewarding career, you know, in medical, whether it be administration or nursing, even phlebotomy. You know, I use my wife as an example. You know, she's a charge nurse, so she oversees the telemetry floor, and you know, in addition to that, she's having to deal with COVID cases and doing more administrative work than she's ever done, and also trying to train up some of the entry-level CNAs. It's just, you know, there's no time for it, and a lot of these nurses are stressed out because, again, you know, they work in a field where you lose your license if you make a mistake. Right. And if you're already seeing way more patients than you technically should, you know, if the acuity is high, you know, it puts a lot of strain on these individuals who, you know, work their tail ends off to get to that career point and get, you know, credentialed. And then, you know, you're put in unsafe situations by your employer. And then on top of that, you're asked to try to train the entry-level staff and create a good working environment. You know, so it's just going to take some time, and hopefully this pandemic can ease up the tensions. But like Steve even mentioned, a lot of people are kind of switching floors, kind of moving avenues to be in a more safe environment. So it's interesting.
Yeah, my best friend is a nurse, and we were just talking yesterday about how she changed, and she started nursing school in 2019. So she didn't start working in a hospital until COVID happened, and so it's been just, yeah, pretty smooth sailing.
I would just a reminder that the chamber does have a education and workforce development council, and so anybody that's interested in this workforce challenges we're going through, invited to participate on the council. Even just if you want to visit and see if if you can contribute, would welcome you to do so. They're also looking at this Future Ready Oregon $200 million of infusion that the governor, legislature, and the governor passed during the last session, and what that's going to look like. Having your voices of true employers, boots on the ground, experiencing these kinds of things is going to be imperative to us actually changing the way we do things here in Oregon. We've kind of, had this same sort of, rinse and repeat of workforce development. And I do think we need to come up with new innovations and start doing things differently. And we've got sort of a one-time shot of $200 million, 95 million of it dedicated to new innovations. So if you've got some great ideas, please, step up and have your voice heard, because now it's kind of now or never. I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. I forgot about that. So thank you for that. Okay, we are getting towards the end of the hour here.
I did want to go back
Yeah.
and I wanted to show you that the June programs we have.
Thank you. Yes.
So I will find that.
Perfect. Yeah, we had that on a slide. So again, thank you to the fabulous team at Summit Bank for being here today. And a quick reminder that we have we'll just fly through these. A quick reminder that we do these programs twice a month and are in June. We will have them on the first and third Wednesday. Our June 1st will be on raising capital. So for those who are interested in having some money talks in a couple of weeks, we will be same bat time, same bat place. And our hope is that on June 15th, we're going to do an in-person reception. It will not be at 10 in the morning. It'll be at a appropriate hour for an adult beverage if you choose to partake. And it'll be, I believe, in Hill Hub, I believe is where we will be doing that. So hopefully we can see some of you in person that we haven't seen recently or ever. So thank you all for being here today. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us on behalf of the Small Business Entrepreneur Council. We're so grateful for all of you participating today. So thank you and have a lovely rest of your day.